2.5 years since the lounge room. Since this room was full of smiling people, and it does seems like a flash whenever I walk back into this place. Give me something I can dream about. Cut the moon and stars out of the sky. 'Cause we all need someone we can dream about. And put him in our pocket for a while. Even for a while. Only for a while. Come on, Shakespeare, take my hand. Thank you very much. That was a beautiful evening where I sang all the How Things Are songs, really for the first time here in Australia, and this is where they were written. And an invited audience who were later, their faces were covered with those, they had like anti-masks. It was a great evening. It was a beautiful evening. Then I launched How Things Are in Australia with this huge band of string players and my son and his girlfriend playing drums and bass. It was in the centre of town. It was a really wonderful thing. And I kind of knew what I was going to do next, because How Things Are was nearly a double album, and I didn't want to inflict a double album on the public, because I don't think there are that many great double albums, actually. I think there's about, I have a list of them somewhere, maybe 10. But the main thing was that I knew that I wanted to write not only the follow-up album to How Things Are, where things fell apart a bit, I came to some kind of resolution about it in my life, but I wanted to write literally the follow-up. In other words, what happened next. And I knew it wasn't finished, and I had to get out on the road to finish it. And that's what happened. So I went out on the road with How Things Are all over the place, and I started putting together this really big box set compilation of all my studio albums, which came out in Europe at the end of last year. So really 2015 was to do with writing and recording Imaginary Lovers, and 2016 was to do with putting the box set together. And that involved a lot of looking through all my old boxes of photographs and all the tangible evidence of this series of albums which I've put so much into. And they're all like, it was a really big deal putting them all together, like looking through all the stuff and listening to the tapes, putting the albums together into a box. So that was like 2016. And Imaginary Lovers was always going to be part of that. But as soon as I heard it and it was finished and made and written, and it definitely told its own particular story, I didn't want it just to be an extra thing for the box set. I wanted it to be its own record. It's just more immediate, it's more punk, and I wrote it just because I had to write the songs. I didn't write it because I was writing a new album. And there's a kind of difference in that. If I look through all the records, like, I know that the first record which you make, you don't really have any sense of it being an album. You're just writing as much as you can, putting everything you know and feel and want to express into your first record. And so it's a very immediate thing. The third record I just wrote because I had no money. I was living in the countryside. I'd come back from London. I was in Ireland, and I was just with my acoustic guitar. And after being through a whole big record company thing with bands and tours and lots of money and everything, I just wanted to write, and just could only write an album with my acoustic guitar, knocking around in this very, very strange car driving around Northern Ireland. And Himself came out of that. That's the third album. And this album, Imaginary Lovers, has that sense about it because nobody asked me to do it. I just had to write the songs. It was a way of working out what life is like after How Things Are. When you're out on your own, you're a troubadour, you've got a guitar, you've got your artist identity, you've got whatever identity you have as a writer and a singer. And that's what I did. I wrote it looking out of half open hotel windows and, you know, late nights in Oslo and standing outside a bar in Hamburg. There was, I was really doing, I was living that life and writing the songs just because I had to write them. And then when I got home, I recorded them. A lot of them are just me and the acoustic, and some of them are with Sebastian on drums, and some of them were with Dominique Foster on violin. There's like just the same lineup as how things are. It's just that I did it much more quickly. Imaginary Lovers. I was in a car in Italy. This beautiful backing singer turned to me and she said, Gli amanti immaginari. And she was talking about something in Italian, none of which I understood except for those three words. And Gli amanti immaginari is a great phrase, imaginary lovers. Like, imaginary friends can be equally as beautiful and part of your life as friends. I think I had imaginary friends when I was a kid. Anybody who's on Facebook's got imaginary friends. Imaginary lovers are, yeah, they could be real lovers and they could be people you thought were lovers, but they may. Oh, it's very, very hard to explain imaginary lovers. It's very hard to explain imaginary lovers. They're both real and imagined. I'll say that for sure. Their effect is real, and maybe I made a lot of it up. But a lot of this album happened, really. It's a series of relationships I was in, and sometimes just in my head, not always actual relationships. So the imaginary lovers thing is very close to my heart, and it's very hard to explain. Oh my God. I love the phrase though. I love the title of it. It's beautiful. I definitely wrote that song sitting on Sunset Boulevard in the sunset, thinking about the Twilight Hotel. The Twilight Hotel, again, it definitely exists. I mean, everything exists. The gay bar in Hamburg exists. Learning how to smoke in Oslo, that happened again, though I stopped later again, thank God. Texting from Canada, emailing from Spain, the Twilight Hotel. It's not just a place, it's a person. And sitting in sunset in the sunshine. Yeah, it all happened for sure. Walking up and down with a red guitar case, like in the photo on the album sleeve. It's a great thing when you meet a very creative, artistic person, and Sebastian, my son, he did design and he knows a lot of art students and design people. If you meet somebody really creative, you just know it instantly. I'm good at, if there's any talent I've got, it's knowing who's a great creative person. And I met one of Sebastian's friends, Georgia Knight, who's an art student at the art college. And I talked about this song I needed a video done for. And really, those young artists, there's no barrier between what discipline of art you do. So if she plays bass, she's probably really good at it, and then can do video and then do sculpture and an art exhibition. And Sebastian play the drums, design stuff, play electric guitar. They can just do everything, really. If you're a creative person, you're open to doing anything. So I asked Georgie if she would do a video for this song, and I sent her the song, and she wrote back and said, I can imagine it being a love affair, like a blind date between a bowl of silver paper or aluminium foil and a bird. And that was it. I thought that's a great idea. I can wait to see it. And it should be stop frame animation. So Sebastian and Georgia got together and worked out the story of this blind date. And I love that clip. It's so cute. I didn't want to be in the clip as well. I want to be in fewer and fewer of my clips. So that was they took some footage of me singing the song, but most of it stars the silver paper and the bird. Privileged to be able to not just have great father-son time, but have it as being members of a band. It's fantastic. So Sebastian always played drums from when he was about 2. Like he'd bash biscuit tins in Dublin. And then he got a tiny kit, a bigger kit, a bigger kit, a bigger kit. And we were at Port Fairy Folk Festival a few years ago. And Mary Black, another Irish singer, asked her daughter on stage, and they sang something together. And Sab and I were looking at each other, and nothing was really said. And we walked to the tent and walked in through the doors of huge tent we were about to play, and there was a drum kit on the stage, and I just looked at him and said, right, Sebastian, let's go. And he got on stage, and he knows the songs. He's known them ever since they were written, most of them. So we got on stage, and really that was it. And we just have been lucky enough to have this huge bond between us of playing, as well as just being father and son. So I love it. And it's a special thing if you look around and it's your son, like keeping the beat, keeping everybody in time. It's wonderful. So this is the second album we've really done together as a team. And then I asked Dominique to do the strings, because she can actually play what I can't really play. I can have ideas for string arrangements, but not expressed as well as she can. I go back to Nonchalant. I love the recording of Nonchalant. I love the build in the middle, those little middle bits, but and the narrative, and it's my favorite chord sequence, really. But sometimes I hear that the really romantic one, which is Every Time I Turn Around. Do you realize what's going on in your eyes? Every time I look around, baby, it's you. Every time I look around, there was something. Okay. And then I think Lonely International Guy has got great lyrics. It's got lyrics like, I just wrote this straight out. It's like some songs you write, you long for the song where you just write it out and it's finished. And it takes a lot of years to be able to do that, and it doesn't happen very often. Like James Joyce's Grave happened like that, where I just wrote it on the back of a newspaper. And Lonely International Guy, I think things which come really from your soul, your heart and your soul and your experience, that I just wrote out. And every time I play it, I've got to reach for the lyrics to get every single thing in there of the story. And I really like that. So I've now listed about 4 of them. So I think the whole thing is just exciting and it's new. When I listen to it, I've got so many of the stories in my head. I know where I was. And somebody told me that I'd learned how to write an Andy White album, and I was getting really good at it. And this is a really good one. I remember a songwriter friend of mine said that to me. I thought that was an interesting idea, that you actually have to learn how to write your own records. Because when you start off, you want to write records like people you love. Records, you've got something of your own to say, but you haven't quite reached your artist identity yet. So I might be getting close to it. Yeah, the launch of the album is at one of my very favourite venues in Melbourne, Bella Union in Trades Hall. So it's in Carlton. It's got like a history. It's political as well as a beautiful place. It's like where trade unions were based. It's a place where the comedy festival is a lot of the time. It's like a world music sort of place with beautiful flags and kind of banners and stuff in it, and artwork. It's got great sound, and I just always love the atmosphere there. I've played before at the Folk Club, and this is kind of running on from that. And yeah, they came and they've got a concert series. It's a part of the concert series. I have an album to launch, and I think it'll be a beautiful evening. You should come and be good to see friends again, old and new. Kavisha Masala is opening the show, who's a wonderful songwriter. She's going to do these beautiful narrative songs from Europe, mostly based in Europe. And then I'm going to give you a whole experience of Imaginary Lovers. I'm going to sing some of songs from my catalogue and try and sort of tie it all together. It'll be wonderful. And it's probably the only time I really focus on this record this year in Australia. So it's a big deal for me. I'm practicing hard.